The trolley problem. Runaway trolley. 4 men in its path. All of them will die. But wait, you can pull a lever. You can change the trolley's course to another track where only one man stands. You have a choice. Kill one or let 4 die. What are you going to do?
I would pull it.
I'd pull the lever and divert the train.
Yes, I would absolutely pull the switch.
Most people say, yes, that's a morally right thing to do, because what you're doing is essentially the utilitarian thing.
That means having one person die isn't as bad as having 4 people die.
Absolutely. You're saving 4 lives. There's another equivalent scenario.
Same situation. Runaway trolley. 4 men will die. But this time you're on a bridge. And there's a man there. He's fat. Fat enough to stop the trolley and save the 4 men. But he won't jump. He'll need to be pushed. Can you push the man over the edge?
I don't think that would be a possibility at all.
And I don't think this be justified.
I can't do that.
Most people say, no, that's not an appropriate thing to do. This is a real mystery because the outcomes are the same. If all you really care about is what is the consequences of your action, you should feel morally at ease with pushing the person off the bridge if you felt at ease with flipping the switch before.
You know, when you play a game, if you learn to be good at it, you find what it is you should have been thinking about.
Geopolitical strategists naturally try to understand how the enemy thinks. George Lakoff and Mark Johnson wrote a book, Metaphors We Live By. It explores how metaphors play a role in framing our thinking about the world we live in. In the Cold War, the enemy was the Soviet Union, and Soviets loved to play chess. A U.S. geopolitical strategist, pictured on the right, Zbigniew Brzezinski, pictured here playing chess with Menachem Begin, was Jimmy Carter's national security advisor. He set up the Mujahideen, commanded by Osama bin Laden, to fight the Soviets in the war in Afghanistan. Published in the late 1990s, Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, The Grand Chessboard, American Primacy and Its Geostrategic Imperatives, laid out the plans that were essentially later followed by the Bush administration. 1973, the Arab oil embargo, the oil crisis that compelled the United States to rethink its relationship with oil countries in the Middle East. Henry Kissinger, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld were all behind the scenes for a front row view of what was happening in the White House. Kissinger, who brought his realpolitik, or politics without considerations of morality, was later the original head of the 9/11 Commission until the day after he was asked about his clients by the name of bin Laden. Of course, Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld were also later involved in the 9/11 story. Oil Fields' military objectives was a plan to invade Saudi Arabia for its oil. It was cooked up as a result of the 1973 oil crisis. We may be facing soon another oil crisis, one caused not by Arabs but by Mother Nature herself. The U.S. was once the largest oil producer in the world, but oil wells dry up eventually. And as we know from very recent WikiLeaks, Saudi Arabia has been overstating its oil reserves. Attacking in chess. William Steinitz, the first undisputed world chess champion, said, "When a sufficient advantage has been obtained, a player must attack, or the advantage will be dissipated." After the fall of the Soviet Empire, the Wolfowitz Doctrine was created. Essentially, it recommended that rather than spend less on the military, in light of not having an adversary, we should spend more, and it advocated a very hawkish, even belligerent stance. The project for the new American century, which contained Paul Wolfowitz and many others who had become part of the Bush administration, issued a document called Rebuilding America's Defenses, roughly 1 year before 9/11. Rebuilding America's Defenses calls for many changes. Changes which regrettably would take a long time, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. This is explored in detail in the film Hijacking Catastrophe. Chess master C.S. Purdy once said, "If the student forces himself to examine all moves that smite, however absurd they may look at first glance, he is on the way to becoming a master of tactics." A move that smites, the Twin Tower sacrifice. A sacrifice in chess is a counterintuitive move that often starts what's known as a combination, a series of very predictable moves which can lead to an advantage or win if calculated properly. Knowing that the United States is dependent on oil, did we see a failed attempt to take control of Iraq in the 1990s? Was this a ruse of some sort, and did the Russians stand in the way? Was the propaganda perhaps somewhat too transparent? Perhaps on 9/11, the so-called hijackers were needed to cause intelligence agencies around the world to think the United States was under attack from a real threat. This would naturally help Putin to give assent to invading Afghanistan. The film Fabled Enemies explores the many connections between intelligence agencies and 9/11, using primarily mainstream media footage.
You know what? I would be offended if I thought we had a monopoly on corruption.
Prince Bandar would not give us an interview today, but he did in 2001, when Frontline asked him about corruption and the Saudi royal family.
But the way I answer the corruption charges is this. In the last 30 years, we have implemented a development program that was approximately close to $400 billion worth. You could not have done all of that for less than, let's say, 350 billion. Now, if you tell me that building this whole country and spending 350 billion out of 400 billion, that we had misused or got corrupted with 50 billion, I'll tell you yes, but I'll take that any time. But more important, who are you to tell me this? I mean, I see every time all the scandals here or in England or in Europe. What I'm trying to tell you is, so what? We did not invent corruption. This happened since Adam and Eve. I mean, Adam and Eve were in heaven, and they had hanky-panky, and they had to go down to earth. So, I mean, this is human nature. But we are not as bad as you think.